April 12th, 1942. 10,000 feet above a quilt of fields and hedgerows in northern France. The wind is a dry whistle through the open cockpit as Flight Lieutenant Eric Foster levels his single-engine fighter and peers at the horizon, eyes narrowed, against the glare. The sun has that low, brittle quality that makes metal and earth glitter. Too many angles for comfort. Below, the patchwork countryside moves like a map someone forgot to fold properly. His hands, gloved and steady, rest on the throttle and stick. The instrument panel rattles with the dull confidence of war. Altimeter, oil temp, a compass that never lies. Somewhere down there, another aircraft coughs and drops a line of black smoke. A tracer stitch stutters across the sky like a mocking seam. Foster feels it before he sees it, a judder through the airframe, a sharp sting at the gut of the plane as something catches the wing. He glances left, and the small, bright world of his wingman is a ragged hole, flaring silver and then gone. The radio crackles and goes dead. On the ground, a church bell somewhere 2 miles away begins to ring in that hollow, wrong way a bell does when it knows something terrible is happening. He fights for the machine. He pulls the stick back, daring the engine to find purchase where there is none. The fighter is alive for grief. It noses, it shudders, and then it answers with a heavy, failing cough. Oil streams like a thin, dark ribbon across the sight glass. The countryside is no longer a map. It is a trap with every field a possible grave. He bails out because there is nothing left to do but trust the chute. The jump is a brief, cold inversion. The world roars upward. The ground hurls itself toward him, and the plane, his plane, blinks out in a flash of flame that smells like copper and old blood. He hits earth in a clump of churned mud and bramble, a hard, ugly landing that sets his teeth to jangling. Rain begins to purl on his helmet, even though the sky was clear seconds before. He will later swear it was the sweat of the trees. By mid-afternoon, a patrol finds him. German infantry, uniforms crisp and eyes wary, the kind of faces that have learned to be kind on the surface and merciless underneath. They strip him of his flying jacket with professional efficiency and handcuff his wrists. He watches their boots, the way they slap the ground. The first words are shouted in a language he understands only in fragments, but their meaning is global and immediate. Hands up, down, move. He gives them the only currency he has left, his name, his rank, the serial number clipped from his collar. Flight Lieutenant Eric Foster, British prisoner. The camp is a place of geometry and routine. Barbed wire loops like the ribs of some. Metal whale guard towers puncture the sky like accusation, and the roll calls are an exercise in erasing individuality. A voice called out, a number returned. The men sleep in long wooden barracks whose floors are always cold. The food is thin, the bread heavy with the husk of despair. The guards are efficient and bored, which is a dangerous combination. There is a smell in the camp that stays with you, a mix of smoke, stagnant laundry, and the metallic tang of constant close fear. But Foster notices things other prisoners miss. The pattern in the guards' rounds, the way the light spills across the yard at certain hours, the exact creak a mattress makes when a man rises. He watches the latrine at dawn and the sentry at dusk. He times the train schedules beyond the wire. He learns which guard is a gambler and which is a man who can be bribed with an extra piece of bread or a cigarette. Small details become teeth. In his plan, escape is an architecture of patience. It is less about sudden heroics and more about making the world behave the way you need it to, carving slivers of chance out of routine. Foster begins with the basics. A forged pass, small tools concealed in the hollow of his toothbrush handle, a replica of a German cap stitched from a discarded blanket, and a scrap of cloth he trades for a favor. he practices the German salute in the mirror of a tin plate until the motion is as natural as breathing. He learns the cadence of the German language, not to speak it perfectly, but to sound like a man who belongs where he is pretending to be. The first escape is nothing like the pictures. No theatrical midnight dash across a floodlit runway. No heroic cliffside scramble. It is a sequence of tiny, almost banal actions that add up to one impossible thing. There is a laundry truck, late on a Wednesday, the canvas flapping like a mouth. There is a distracted guard playing cards under a tree. There is Foster, small and still, stepping into the belly of the wagon as if he were only another piece of linen. For 2 hours the truck moves like a slow, fumbling animal through a landscape that does not notice its enormous secret. When the truck unloads at the supply depot and the canvas is thrown back, Foster is already on his feet, the taste of mud and grease in his mouth. He moves with a confidence he has practiced in the dark. The first guard looks at the uniform cap clipped to his belt and nods with the casual authority of routine. Foster offers the practiced salute and keeps walking. The country beyond the depot smells of hay and possibility. He keeps his head down, his uniform ragged but serviceable, and he follows the line of the road like a man following a rumor. Freedom is never clean. He is recaptured 10 days later, betrayed by a farmer who needed the ration card offered by uniformed men. But the first escape teaches him an essential truth. Captivity is porous. The wire can be crossed, men can be fooled. And behind all the terror, there exists a system that, if watched long enough, reveals the faint seams where one might pry open the world. October 1942. The nights come earlier now. The German winter presses down like a lid, muting every sound inside Stalag Luft III, a camp built with precision and paranoia after men like Eric Foster began making a habit of escaping. The barracks creak like old ships. Inside, 60 men sleep shoulder to shoulder, their breath turning to mist in the cold air. Foster lies awake, tracing the rhythm of the guard's footsteps outside. The sound is steady, crunch, pause, crunch, as predictable as a heartbeat. He's been here for 3 months since the last escape, and already the map is forming in his head again. He's older now, leaner. His hair has grown out, his uniform patched and worn. But his eyes still hold the same restless light, the look of a man who doesn't believe in walls. Every day is a repetition. Roll call, thin soup, work detail, count again. The Germans like their order, but Foster knows. In war, order is an illusion waiting to be broken. It starts with a spoon. That's all it ever takes. One man, a spoon, and a reason. Foster and 2 others, Sergeant Collins and a wiry Scotsman named McAllister, begin digging under the stove in Barracks 7. The dirt is packed tight with frost, biting at their fingers. But they work in shifts, scraping, scooping, breathing into their sleeves to keep quiet. They hide the dirt under floorboards, in the hems of their trousers, in the vegetable garden when the guards aren't looking. The tunnel grows like a secret vine beneath the barracks, a dark artery pulsing with hope. They measure it each night, 6 meters, then 12, then 20. The air grows stale and thick, and they rig a crude pump using an old tin can tubing and a hand crank made from a chair leg. Above them, the world remains cruelly ordinary. Guards smoke by the watchtowers, dogs bark. Somewhere, a man laughs too loudly, probably the gambler from Section C. War feels distant inside this frozen machine, but the urge to fight it still burns beneath every blanket and whispered plan. Early November, they break through the last meter of earth. It's raining that night, a good omen. Soundless footsteps, washed scents. They wait until midnight. Foster leads, crawling through the tunnel head first. his breath echoing in the narrow dark. The walls brush his shoulders. His fingertips touch the cold promise of open air. When he surfaces, the wind hits him like a slap. He's free again. The sky is a bruise-colored smear, the forest swaying just beyond the floodlights. He waves the others through, then disappears into the trees. For 2 days, they move by compass and instinct, stealing what they can from abandoned barns, a crust of bread, a chipped flask of rainwater. Foster never speaks of fear. He keeps his focus on the horizon, that imaginary line where home begins again. But Germany is wide, and the net always waits. On the 3rd night, they reach a river near the border, swollen from autumn rain. They find a rowboat half sunk in reeds, patch it with rags, and push off under a slice of moon. The current is fast. McAllister hums softly under his breath, an old Scottish tune meant to keep their minds from cracking under the strain. Then, a spotlight, voices shouting in German. Bullets slap the water like angry rain. Collins is hit in the arm. Foster pulls him toward the opposite bank, but the current drags them both sideways. The boat spins, cracks against a rock, and throws them into the freezing current. When he wakes, he's on a muddy shore, coughing up river water and smoke. His hands are bound again, his jacket torn. A soldier stands over him, rifle leveled at his chest. There's no malice in the German's face, just exhaustion, another man who's seen too many ghosts. They take him back to the camp, to the same barracks he escaped from. The commander greets him personally this time, half impressed, half annoyed. 3 months' punishment, he says in perfect English. Maybe this time you stay put. But Foster only smiles through split lips. He's already thinking of the next plan. The guards don't understand it yet, but men like him don't stay anywhere for long. He studies the fences again, the towers, the sky. Somewhere beyond it, the war is still burning, and so is his will to return to it. March 1943. Snowmelt runs like thin veins through the mud outside Stalag Luft III. The camp has changed since Foster's last punishment. The Germans are tenser now, their routines sharper, their eyes always counting. Word has spread about the Yai, British pilot who keeps slipping through the cracks. To them, he's a problem to be solved. To the men in the barracks, he's something else entirely. A symbol that maybe, just maybe, the wire doesn't always win. Foster moves quietly these days. He helps with chores, swaps stories in whispers, and spends hours repairing radios. That will never work. The guards believe the punishments have tamed him. What they don't see are the small things, the coded notes passed through the fence, the pieces of wire, nails, and scraps of paper tucked under his mattress. Every man in the camp knows that if Foster starts collecting things again, something is coming, and something is. This time, it's not a tunnel. Too obvious. The commandant doubled the guard dogs after the last escape. No, this time Foster thinks like them, in schedules, in patterns, in bureaucracy. He notices how prisoners are sometimes transferred between camps for interrogation, and how the Germans keep meticulous logs of every train and every man aboard. If he can get his name on one of those lists, he might get his chance. Through quiet, persuasion, and a few forged stamps stolen from the administration hut, he does. On paper, Flight Lieutenant Eric Foster is to be transferred to a new Luftwaffe interrogation center in Bremen. In reality, the man assigned to that name will be a ghost, because Foster plans to disappear before the train ever reaches its destination. The plan unfolds on a grey dawn. The prisoners are lined up, their breath fogging in the cold. 2 guards check names against a clipboard, while a third smokes and stamps his boots for warmth. Foster, wearing a stolen overcoat and a forged armband, marking him as a maintenance orderly, walks past them with a clipboard of his own. The key is confidence, the same quiet authority the Germans used to mask their own exhaustion. He boards the train before anyone asks questions. Inside, the air is thick with coal dust and damp wool. Prisoners hunch in the corner while guards sit near the door, rifles across their knees. The engine lurches forward, iron on iron, the rhythm of captivity starting again. Hours pass. Forest gives way to field, then to forest again. The guards grow drowsy. Foster's pulse steadies. Beneath the bench, hidden in a crate, is the last piece of his plan, a loose panel in the train's floor, pried open days before with a smuggled screwdriver. When the guards begin their midday ration of bread and schnapps, Foster acts. He slides to the floor, prying up the panel inch by inch, until the cold air rushes through like a warning. The sound of the rails is deafening, a continuous roar that threatens to give him away. He takes a deep breath and drops through, hanging between the wheels, his boots inches from the blur of track. The world becomes wind and thunder. The smell of oil and snow fills his lungs. He waits for the next bend, when the train slows to climb a hill, and then he lets go. The ground meets him like a fist. He tumbles through grass and gravel, skin torn, breath knocked from his chest. For a moment he lies still, listening to the fading clatter of the train. Then he laughs, a broken, breathless sound. He's free again. The escape buys him 3 days. 3 days of trudging through thawing forest, surviving on melted snow and stolen apples. He keeps to the shadows, traveling by night, hiding in barns by day. Every sound, a barking dog, a passing truck, sounds like a gunshot. But he keeps, moving, driven not by glory, but by something quieter, defiance. On the third night, he reaches the Dutch border. The land is open here, a marsh of shallow water and thin mist. He can see the faint glow of distant lights, Allied territory, safety, but freedom always demands its price. A patrol finds him as he crosses a field at dawn. The shout comes first, then the rifles. He runs anyway, boots sinking into the mud, breath tearing at his throat. A shot rings out, then another. The next thing he knows, he's face down in the cold, the butt of a rifle pressing into his back. The voice above him, calm and measured, says, "So, it's you again. Back to the same camp, back to the same wire." Only this time, when they lock him in solitary, even the guards can't hide their grudging respect. They've begun to call him Der Geist, the ghost. 3 escapes, 3 captures, and still not broken. Months later, when the war finally turns and the Allied forces sweep through Germany, Eric Foster is liberated, thinner, older, but unmistakably alive. The guards who once laughed now salute him as he walks free for the last time. He doesn't look back. Somewhere, beyond the ashes and the silence, a man who escaped 3 times from the impossible disappears quietly into peacetime.